Hey, my lovely people. Welcome back to A Black Cat's Voice. I'm your host, Kat, here with a new episode for y'all, Happy spooky season to all of y'all who celebrated Halloween yesterday. I guess since it's November, it's officially Christmas time as far as the stores and stuff are concerned, but Halloween is one of the only acceptable holidays, in my opinion, to a certain extent. But just because I love scary stuff, I love scary movies, I love scary shows. I've been a fan of spooky things before it was even like a thing. Because as a kid, I actually had a doll that looked like Chucky's bride. And I used to take that thing with me everywhere. So, I was a very different kid, you feel me? And I don't even know what happened to my doll. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know what happened to her. But anyways, I'm just saying, I've always been a fan of, the spooky stuff, the weird stuff. Always been a fan. So happy belated Halloween to everybody who celebrated. I hope you guys were safe and I hope you really had a great time because I love Halloween. So in light of that, I wanted to make today's episode about fear. So fear can be two things. It can either be face everything and rise or forget everything and run. Okay? So I want to speak more on the aspect of, face everything and rise. And then I'll talk about, forgetting everything and running. So, first things first, always understand that if you don't grow through what you go through, eventually you're going to self-destruct, in one way or another. We're all scared of something. We all have fears. I don't care how tough people try to act. I don't care how much people try to act like nothing bothers them. We all have fears, it's a normal part of life. And the choice is really yours, either you can go in your closet and face the monster that's in there, or you can just pretend it's not there. And pretending the monster's not there is not going to make it go away, And when it comes to life, you have to understand that anything you are afraid of, you smoking, you drinking, partying, you having sex, none of that is going to heal the pain. These are what you call band-aids. So they just make you feel better in the moment. But long term, you're not really healing anything. Emotional avoidance is really not the same as a positive mindset. Like a lot of social media and a lot of people who think they're leaders but aren't have really been emphasizing this whole just think positive. And it's really like toxic positivity, because it's okay to be hurt by things that hurt you, like a lot of the times, especially looking at social media, I feel like a lot of us can feel like we're failing in areas that we're not, One of my favorite quotes is really that money is not life's report card. Like, I don't know who made that quote, but it's not, just because somebody on social media might constantly be showing you how happy they are, how much money they make, how many things they have. It don't mean that they don't have fears, and it doesn't mean that they're actually happy. You have to really acknowledge your true emotions. You have to really understand what it is that makes you the way that you are, or else you're never really dealing with anything. Either you're going to face everything and rise, or you're going to forget everything and run. And, honestly, you don't really forget. To be real, you can pretend it's not there, but that doesn't mean it's not there. Okay, so for those of you who actually do want to heal, that's more of who I'm speaking to. You have to understand that you cannot heal in the same environment that made you sick. If there are certain people around you who dig at your self-esteem, who make you angry, who really make you feel miserable every time you're around them, I don't care if they're family, I don't care if they're coworkers, friends. It's okay to remove them from your life. It's okay to cut toxic people out of your life because why does it matter how long you've known someone if they use majority of that time to disrespect you? You know, I see a lot of people staying in entertaining situations, people, places, and things that they're a lot better than just because of the history. You know, just because they feel like, oh, I don't want to waste my time. When it's literally like nothing is a waste of time, because experience is always the best teacher. You know, nothing is a waste of time as long as you are learning and growing from it. You know, if you're sitting and dealing with the same things and consistently being unhappy and not working on healing yourself so you can be happy, then yeah, that is a waste of time. But once again, only if you see it that way. You know, it's really all on you, because it's okay to tend to yourself. You know, it's okay to protect your mental health, whatever that may look like for you. Like for me personally, I still have days where I'm hurting. I still have days where I'm, you know, going through things, and I literally keep my phone on do not disturb. You know, nobody can call me, nobody can text me unless I literally check my messages or my DMs or something like that. I don't respond to anybody, and I don't feel bad about it, because at the end of the day, I have to do what's best for me. You know, it's nobody's job to heal me. It's my job to heal myself. You know, nobody can make you unafraid of things that you aren't afraid of. It's up to you to do that. Especially as an adult, you're the one who has to put in the work. You know, you can't keep sitting and waiting for somebody else to, you know, get the monster out of your closet, because you're not a little kid anymore. You know, it's on you now, babe. And you really got to, I mean, if you want to heal, because you don't have to do anything. You can do anything you want with your life. But if you really want to be able to change your life and really be happier, you know, in certain ways, you have to really face the things that you're afraid of. Like, you know, you gotta step out of your comfort zone in certain ways, because it's really essential for growth, you guys. It really is. So one of the things that I wanted to emphasize as well is that if you're facing your fears, you know, it's really a lifelong process, because healing really takes time, you know, and it's okay to take your time to heal. You know, sometimes you may think you're over something and it may still hurt you. Like, I'm always use myself as an example. So growing up, I was adopted by my grandfather. He was one of the best people I've ever known in my entire life. And when I say this man was an angel, he was literally my angel on earth. And one of my greatest fears as a child, I never really even knew why I would think about this, but my greatest fear as a child would always be like, damn, what if something happens to my dad? Like, what am I going to do? So, unfortunately, when I was 14 years old, my dad did end up passing away from cancer. And ever since then, I don't want to say I've been living in fear, but in a certain way I have, because that is the only person that I ever felt really protected me. You know, that's the only person that ever really made me feel safe. And I didn't really look up to a lot of people growing up. You know, I just had a lot of people that I did not want to be like. Like, I would just see people around me and be like, ooh, I'm not going, okay, I don't want to be nothing like you when I grow up. And for me, losing my inspiration, you know, losing the only person that I looked up to, it's really been painful every day since, you know, but I've had to grow and face my own fears, because now I'm forced to, you know, he's not here anymore. And as much as it's painful to not be able to hear his voice or talk to him or whatever, you know, facing that fear and learning to grow and learning to look within myself, I found a power and a strength that I never imagined that I really had, And I'm going to do my best not to get emotional talking about this, because anybody who knows me knows that my dad was really everything to me. And I'm just really using this as an example because it's okay to be hurt by things that hurt you, but the difference is that you cannot stay there. Selfishly, of course, I wanted my dad to live forever. Of course, I wish I could talk to him. I wish I could see him. I wish I could call him. But I never look at it as he's gone. I don't look at death how other people look at death. I look at death as transformation. So my dad may not physically be here, but his energy is always with me. His love is always with me. His wisdom is always with me. And having to face my greatest fear, which my greatest fear was always what was I going to do without him? It has unlocked and unleashed a level of strength and a level of power that I never knew that I had. Because every single day I'm facing my greatest fear. And as painful as it is, it's like some days I can talk about my dad. I could laugh, I can think of our memories and stuff, and I could smile. I smile from ear to ear, as they say. And other days I could just hear a song he liked and it'll make me cry. You feel me? So I'm not saying facing your fears is easy, because it's not. It's really a process. Anything that's worth something in life is usually not easy. It takes time. It takes development. It takes patience. It takes, sometimes it takes suffering to really see how powerful you can be. And of course, I would love for my dad to still be here, but I know he's always still here. My dad is always with me because I am him. The love that he gave me, the wisdom that he gave me, the kindness that he gave me, even his spirit. My dad was a pastor, so he used his voice to help people. And now, of all things, I could be doing with my life. What am I doing? I'm using my voice to help people. You feel me? So as scary as it seems, as scary as it can be, sometimes the best thing for you is to face your fears, because you never know how you can grow. You never know how you can inspire not just somebody else, but inspire yourself. You feel me? And the thing is that when you learn to face your fears, it really makes you unstoppable, because I really had to adjust my way of thinking to where I used to be afraid, like, what am I going to do if that happens? I used to just worry about what if. And now I always just think, okay, if something happens, I'm going to figure out how to handle it when it happens. I'm going to cross that bridge when I get to it. I'm not going to worry about what could happen. I'm going to shift and adjust and learn to move and maneuver with what does happen, So I'm just saying all this to say that you can heal, You may be scared of something and you may be worried about something, but sometimes facing that thing can be the best thing to ever happen to you. But you're the only one that can see that. You're the only one that can decide what is right for you in your life. But at the end of the day, it's always a choice. You don't have to do anything. But when it comes to fear, you got two choices. Like I said, either you could forget everything and run, or you can face everything and rise. And that's real. And as always, thank you for listening.